This is a quick recap on last lesson, but also a continuation of last lesson, because we would have done a lot more discussion, a lot more of what do you think, sociologists would think, etc., etc. So I've just cut it into two for you. So just to continue, you do it now. I'll give you 5 minutes for it, or however long it will take you. You have the time now. So answer these questions for me. Your challenge, and remember, please, your challenge is for everybody. Okay, I want everybody to at least attempt the challenge, and make sure you highlight it so I know you've attempted it on your piece of paper, and that would be perfect. Okay, think of three things in our society which are social constructs. Okay, you've got to remember question number 4 for you to be able to do your challenge. Okay, I'm all for you having a look in your books or on the internet and understanding what a social construct is for you to be able to attempt your challenge. Now, if you really want to see, and I would love to see in terms of you progressing within the lesson, I want you to try to tell me what a social construct is first, and then you can have a look and get the answer and mark it in green, and then attempt your challenge. That will show me that actually you've put in the time. Not only have you attempted question number 4, but then you've researched, got the answers, and then you've attempted your challenge. That for me is absolutely perfect. So pause this video for me, please, and then continue when you have finished. So, if we use the Simpsons, what do you think a society is? Society is a large group, social grouping that shares the same geographical territory and is subject to the same political authority and cultural expectations. Okay, so in the Simpsons, they pretty much all live in Springfield. They pretty much all are governed by the same person, and they all live in a similar with similar cultural expectations. Now, when Homer Simpson, for example, deviates from these cultural expectations, we see some funny things happening and sometimes some detrimental things happening. Okay, we've got Krusty the Clown sometimes who does this fantastically well. We've got some weird characters in there who show us actually, in terms of the cultural expectations within the Simpsons, sometimes when they deviate, some adventures happen, or they need to fix what's going on, especially with Sideshow Bob over here, for example. So how have these two people got the status they have in society today? Can you please attempt that for me? There's 2 key words, okay, and there are 2 explanations, and I want you to attempt that for me, please. Pause this video. So, ascribed status. This is a key word. Make sure you've got it down. You can either put it on a study card for me, or you can highlight it in your books. Ascribed status is when you are born into the status, okay, into the status that you belong in. And achieved status is something that you've worked hard to gain. So this is Sir Alan Sugar, who has worked really hard to get to the position he has got to now. The Queen, she was born into her role. She was born into her status because she was born in the royal family. Now, within society, human beings are social animals. We all live and participate in society, okay? Things that are shared by a society is called a culture. These include language, beliefs, and ways of doing things. Now, you can belong to more than one culture. So, for example, I'm Kurdish, and I belong to the British culture. I'm very much British, but I also have my culture at home when I go to my mum and dad's, for example, and we do things there that are very much within our Kurdish culture. For example, the music we listen to, from the films that we might watch, to the food that we eat, for example. Okay. So culture and society. So not all societies have the same culture. This is cultural diversity. So, for example, the UK has very different ways of doing things to China. However, all cultures share same basic ideas. So, for example, language, family, religion, property, that's called cultural universals, okay? Some people may judge another culture as it is very different to their own. The acceptance that there are differences, but that every culture should be treated with equal respect is called cultural relativism. Okay, now everything in red, everything in red, I do need you to be able to know. And I need you to know this off the top of your head, because when we are in lessons, I will be talking about cultural universals or cultural relativism or Eurocentric or ethnocentric curriculum, for example. You need to know what these are for us to be able to have a conversation. And it's really quite nice, because then when you take it home and when you speak to your parents or carers like this, they'll look at you like, oh wow, like you are such a you look how mature you are, look at the way you're thinking. And it's really interesting, because regardless of if you agree or disagree with something, the fact that you have thought about it, especially critically, you're going to be able to stand your own, and you stand your own ground, and actually you start then teaching other people about the things that we're learning about. Okay, so norms, mores, values, values, role and status. Make sure you've got this down. Please pause this video and get this down. These are some of your keywords that we will be talking about. Okay, it's very important, because each of these really do have a lot to do with every single person's viewpoint, everybody's education, their family type sometimes, healthcare, crime and deviance, culture and society. Oh, sorry, that's twice. Sociological perspectives. So there are different types of views in sociology, a bit like a bit like the different denominations in religion. Okay, so they don't always agree, but that's a good thing, because the more they don't agree, the more we can evaluate them. Okay, so we've got functionalism, Marxism, Weberism or feminism, symbolic interactionism and labeling theory, and postmodernism. Okay, so today we're just going to look at a few, but I really want you to understand that these are the sociological perspectives that we will be studying for the next 2 years. Functionalists. So Emile Durkheim at the top here is your go-to guy. He's the founding father of functionalism. So they compare society to the human body. Okay, they call it the organic analogy. They use the organic analogy, sorry. All the different parts are like organs, essential to overall health. They all have their own role and function. If these parts of society fail, there would be a negative effect on all of us. Therefore, people should do as they're told for the good of the whole society. In other words, every part of society has the function of contributing to the whole to help it function. So every part of your organs, for example, help the whole to keep it functioning. Okay, now you've got your Marxists. Now Marxists, the founding father is Karl Marx. Okay, society is divided into two classes, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. Okay, when we talk from a Marxist perspective, we will be talking about the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, and that's how we would be talking about the different classes within society. If you notice, the bourgeoisie at the top, the ruling class, and the beliefs that they have penetrate down to the proletariat. So whatever they want us to think, the proletariat take that on board. They are in conflict. So society, these two are in conflict, as the ruling class only stay in power by exploiting the workers. The ruling class use the different institutions of society to strengthen their positions at the top of society. Okay, make sure you are taking notes down. So, in other words, the rich and powerful stay in power by taking advantage of the workers. This is what Marxists believe. Now, feminists, okay, I want you to answer this question at the top. They believe society is divided by sex, not class. Men have all the power, so patriarchy. We live in a patriarchy. They claim society is male stream. So what does male stream mean? Can you please get that down for me too? They want men and women to have equal rights. So this is a famous feminist. Her name is Germaine Greer. So in other words, your sex affects your status and men have the power. Do you consider your views as feminist? And tell me why. Make sure you justify your answer. I want you to answer the top question for me, please, girls and boys. Now, the new right. So it's a reaction to the changes of the 1970s and in the 60s when the country became more relaxed. They want a return to traditional values. Remember in the 1950s, you had really obvious roles from the mother as being nurturing and caring, and that's what her job was, and the father being the breadwinner, for example. Okay, they see everything that goes against these values as deviant, so it's different from the accepted norm. Remember, who makes up the norms? Who makes up our norms? Why do we do the things that we do? So in other words, things should be more traditional, and we should return to traditional roles. So, do you consider your views as new right? Justify your answer for me, please. And that is the end of your lesson. So I've done it in a two-part way for you all, so it's easier and your notes are more structured. But that was a really quick recap on what your perspectives say and what they believe. It's very simple, and right now for you it might be black and white. Okay, yes, I'm a feminist because, or no, I'm not a feminist because actually, no, I don't think everything in society is made for men, because look at all the things that are made for girls, for example, especially in school, because we have, girls getting into science and etc., and things that we as teachers do so that girls can achieve more and be better and be greater. So do really think about why you might be X, Y, and Z, or you might be this way. But what I really do want you to do is think about what you're leaning towards more, and then research on that more. And tell me if you agree or you disagree. If you completely disagree with the new right, tell me why. Why do we disagree with the new right? Or why do we disagree with feminism or Marxism, for example? Let me know.